How you doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Shout out to all the subscribers as always, and gratitude to anybody new locked in. Welcome along. Let's talk about Shakur Stevenson versus Artem Harutyunyan. I think that's his name. Interesting fight this coming Saturday. Obviously, Harutyunyan coming off a loss against Frank Martin, although he put up a spirited fight, and you know, it was closer than a lot of people thought going into the fight, you know. And he's got Olympic pedigree, amateur background is pretty deep as well. Still quite inexperienced at the pros. He's only got a handful of fights, I think around 12. I'll pull up his box rec, but you know, he's a tough fighter. But when you're fighting Shakur Stevenson, you need a lot more than what he's got. Personally, I think Shakur Stevenson, I know he's had a lot of criticism lately, and that's just the way boxing goes, isn't it? You know, you have one bad performance and then everybody forgets how good you are, or forgets the performances like the Jamel Herring performance, Oscar Valdez. You know, he's a sensational fighter, Shakur Stevenson, and to be honest, I think he's probably the closest fighter to be unbeatable. I'm not saying he can't be beat, I'm just saying if you were to pick a style and have someone that's the closest thing to being unbeatable, Shakur Stevenson's it. Why? Because defensively, he's obviously elite. His concentration level is just next level elite, and his, you know, he's obviously that his controlling distance is elite. His lead hand control, which we'll get into, which is going to be a massive part of this fight, I think, as well. Shakur Stevenson is sensational at doing that, but for me, it's his concentration. And you know, his professionalism as well. Although there was something that interesting came up, I can't remember which fight it was. I'll try and pull up the commentary clip where Joe Tessitore was saying that Shakur Stevenson admitted that he wasn't quite as focused outside of the ring.
Says his focus is different. It's nothing but boxing, and he admitted to us that even when he fought Oscar Valdez,
leading up to a fight, which surprised me a little bit,
when he was unifying titles, even when he fought Jamel Herring, when he was absolutely dynamic in earning a belt.
Because I know he
said that he had lapses. He had a lack of focus at times outside of the ring.
In camp or very close with Bud, Keyshawn Davis, who's also fighting this Saturday, Abdullah Mason as well. It's a pretty good card, actually. And I'll be watching that full on. It's a really good, all-around good card. I forget there's somebody else I might be forgetting as well. But he'd mentioned that, and I always thought because he was in that camp with Bud and Keyshawn Davis, and you know, I thought he was just nothing but boxing. Which, look, it's a tough sport, and having to do that all the time is really tough. Which is why on this channel I give so much praise to the fighters that get the best out of themselves, like really, like on a day in day out, back in the gym the day after, stuff like that. And because I'm like, it's such an incredibly tough sport. But for the most part, he's a very, you know, consummate professional, and he puts his skills, you know, that are already sharpened, he gets them sharp for the most part. But his mind is what's going to win this fight, you know. But it's like, is he going to want to prove to the doubters about getting stoppages and being entertaining, you know? Because I know he's not the fighter that particularly cares about the fans. I mean, he said it before, you know, F the fans. I can't remember who. I think it was towards another fight he was talking about, where you just got to go in there and get the win, which he did against De Los Santos. Obviously, that was an abysmal fight to watch. But you know, there's some level of skill too, to not care about what the fans are doing or saying or getting booed and still get the win. I know he had a busted hand as well. He still what he had to do against a very athletic, powerful, twitchy guy as well. And I think, you know, De Los Santos didn't really let it hang out either. You know, it was a world title fight. It was for a vacant belt. In fact, this fight is for Shakur Stevenson's WBC belt, and that was when he won that off De Los Santos. But you know, it's just crazy how much backlash he's gotten from just one fight, really, because he's still a tremendous fighter, and I think he's going to put on a tremendous performance and, you know, really try to turn it on and probably try to get the stoppage. Because against Jamel Herring, you know, once he realizes and he figures out somebody's power or range or distance, and they're not so powerful, like, you know, he'll go for the kill. Question is, how much power does Artem, I'm just going to call him Artem, it's a little easier, how much power does he have to, you know, keep Shakur honest enough? because once Shakur does find that range, which doesn't take him long, a couple of rounds I think he mentioned before, where he can start to really gauge somebody, he's probably going to start to try to pick him apart unless he feels that zip coming back, which is a little too risky. But you know, in terms of how the fight will go, Artem, as I said, he's no special effects really, but I think his heart and his determination and his amateur background, but his toughness are probably his highlight, you know, attributes. But you know, he does a couple of things I'll show you right now that are just going to play into Shakur's hands. Like, you know, he telegraphs a bit strong, but when he likes to double jab and throw that backhand. And when he does that, it just he's given so many tells away to somebody like Shakur Stevenson, who can read all of these patterns so easily, and he's just going to be able to time in coming in. I think Shakur Stevenson's backhand obviously is going to be a main factor. It usually is.
It looked like he was coming with a left hand over the top, throwing a jab, throwing the left hand. You see him on his back foot right there. Beautiful.
And actually in the Valdez fight, I mentioned that pre-fight, I was like, he's going to have a field day because Valdez kind of opens up his left hook like this, and Shakur Stevenson can see that, especially when he caught him on the ropes. I'll put up the clip.
Getting hit, trying to get your offense up.
Oh, there's a good left hand from Shakur Stevenson as Valdez came straight in.
Where his concentration's so high, and he just reads. It's like everything just slows down, and then bam, he's going to pepper him with that back left hand. Not to mention his jab as well. I know he's a southpaw, but he's going to be able to land that jab too, I think. But he's going to line that backhand up. But it's going to be his lead hand who's going to manipulate or control Artem, right? Because Artem's lead hand is a little bit low too, and it's a little bit, his punches aren't crispy and flashy enough to, you know, you have to, when you're fighting somebody like Shakur Stevenson, there's probably loads of things you have to do right, but one of them is you can't give him away any punching tells or any signs that you're going to punch. And I'll show a clip now. Artem, when he does this, he moves his body right before he punches, and these are all, you know, this is all information. You know, and that downloading the data, which gets overused now, I'll probably stop using it. But that's what I'm talking about. That's the data. And that's just, you can read that. And when you have an Intel processor of the highest order, Shakur Stevenson's probably got the fastest computer in terms of his brain processing ability to be able to see what's happening and then react to it. And I think he's gonna have a field day, to be honest with you, because I just, like, the thing is, when you get peppered and beaten to the punch and outmaneuvered and you can't land anything, then frustration kicks in and desperation kicks in, and then you open yourself up more to these, you know, desperate swinging shots, and you're going to get countered more, and then, you know, you just end up getting deflated and defeated. And I think probably Shakur Stevenson, we're looking at, like, I would say a mid to late stoppage. I wasn't sure if he was going to get the stoppage, to be honest with you, but thinking about it, I was like, I don't think Artem's going to really be able to lay a glove on him. Most people can't. In fact, there's one thing that you can do against Shakur Stevenson, and I mentioned this actually pre-fight in the Valdez fight too, whereas, like, he does it quite a lot. He does this boxing move, right, where he'll jump up and put his hands back there, but you have to back him up against the ropes, really. He does it almost every time if you get him on the ropes, and he'll jump back. It's a little get out the way type move, but if there's not enough space on the ropes, you can come in and land a hefty shot. And he actually got, I'll put up the clip that I from the Valdez video that I made, and I'll show you, and then I'll show you a clip after where he, shout out to Boxing Gems, actually, he actually made that video, and it was an interview of Shakur Stevenson telling how he got hurt to the body from that shot, but he concealed his pain quite well. But then he told his grandpa that, you know, he was basically he felt sick. Something he does that I think Valdez could take advantage of, and that's when he pulls back against the ropes and he kind of leans his hands back like this and tucks his belly back a little bit, which is like a little boxing move to kind of evade those extra few inches. But he'll do that on the ropes, so there is a chance, I think, where he can get pushed back, and, you know, Valdez has got to come in with that jab and try and land that body shot, because there is a lot of space under there for, like, a right hand to the body, like a looping right hand to the body. That's the only thing I've really seen too much of Stevenson. His defense is so good.
I ain't get hurt with a punch, to my face, but I got hit with a body shot.
And
Like I'm in the ring,
right,
and I got hit with a body shot, boom, and the crowd go crazy. But they don't really know. Like he was just throwing a lot of punches, so they going crazy for him. But they don't know, and he don't know that I'm really.
One of them hurt.
Yeah, it really hurt it bad. So I'm trying to play it off. I'm giving him the face, like I'm letting him know, like I'm still here.
Right.
But then the round ended, and I went back to the corner, and I sat down. I looked at my grandfather and said, "Yo, I feel like I gotta throw up."
So you can get to him like that, but it's like a question of how can you do that? You know, you'd have to back him up into a certain area and be ready to loop in these shots, because when he does lift his hands up like that, as I said, there's a lot of space under there. And even if he does it like this, he'll move back. It's just getting there, not getting counted on the way in, and then having enough space to ground to make up so you can get your shots off to the body. But even then, even that body shot that he took off Valdez was quite a vicious shot, and he even admitted to wanting to throw up. He still managed to see out the fight professionally. He wouldn't even known he was hurt. I mean, that's a feat in itself. So, you know, I'm expecting Shakur Stevenson to have a dominating performance from start to finish. Pick him apart, use that lead hand, that backhand, variate the backhand, whether it's chopping it over, shooting a straight backhand, using that front lead hand to control Artem, to measure him, to contain him, step back, bang, you know, just like he did against Valdez a lot of the time. And then maybe probably walk him down, to be honest with you. I think it would just depend on how crispy Artem's shots are, if he can land something to keep Shakur a little honest. And I don't necessarily mean a clean shot to the face. I mean just something. Sometimes when you get caught with shots on the arm or on the elbows, you're like, ooh, that guy's got some power. So if he can do that, it might not shut Shakur down, but make him think twice about opening up. But I think he'll probably start picking him apart and then start to walk him down and get him out of there. Probably about between 7 and 9 or something like that. I do see a stoppage, a dominating performance, and back on the oh, he's the best. You know, this is how boxing fans work. I've always rated him highly, even after the De Los Santos win. You know, if you can shut down somebody like that and it's ugly with one hand, I mean, you know, he's just, like I said, for me, he's the closest fighter to being undefeatable, or undefeated. And I'm not saying he's not beatable. I just think he's got the style. When he really turns it on, he can make somebody look so silly because he's a defensive wizard. You know, let me know your thoughts anyway. And I'm curious of what you guys think. I don't really give Artem any chance, really. You know, he's way out of his depth here. But, you know, I wish him well. Probably put up a spirited effort. And, you know, there's no shame in losing to Shakur Stevenson, because he's one of the best fighters, I think, you know. So hopefully we can get some bigger fights at lightweight with him. I'll probably do a video on the lightweight division soon, as I did one in the 140 division. But anyway, that's it from me. I hope you guys enjoy the holiday, and yeah, have a great weekend too. Peace.